In the coldest regions of North America, drivers traverse man-made roads over frozen rivers, lakes, and oceans of ice less than 30 inches thick in 65,000-pound vehicles. These treks are dangerous and often fatal. Some drivers describe them as suicide missions. Other drivers describe them as Lazarus and Dangerfield show.
Why so cold, Mr. Dangerfield?
I'm as cold as ice. And I'm willing
As
to
cold
sacrifice.
as ice. Willing to sacrifice. Well, Supertramp aside, what is coming up this week, Mr. Dangerfield?
Coming up this week, we are going to be all grown up for the most part. So we are going to be looking at Tom Hanks in Big.
Clerical transcriber.
Right.
Yeah. Gross. God, that's gross.
Lindsay Lohan swaps bodies with her mum in Freaky Friday.
I'm old. I beg your pardon. Oh, I'm like the Crypt Keeper. Okay, that's enough.
And Matt Perry turns into Zac Efron in 17 again. But first, what's coming up on this week's show, Mr. Lazarus?
Well, we've gone all serious, all Irish, and all we only have one voice. Because we have a particular set of skills, and those skills are to talk about Mr. Liam Neeson.
It's about time.
We have the Marksman. It is. He is Mr. Qui-Gon Jinn has not come up on the Lazarus and Dangerfield show so far. But yes, we have him as an ex-Marine who skirmishes with the cartel on the Mexican border in The Marksman, and we have
The Ice Road, the brand new Amazon original movie that came out, I believe, last Friday, which is about a remote diamond mine collapsing in far northern Canada, and a big rig ice road driver must lead an impossible rescue mission over a frozen ocean to save the trapped miners. But maybe there's more at stake than he thinks. That's all I'm going to say. That's all I'm going to say.
basically the plot. Well, I am slightly older than you, so I will, should I say, get the ball rolling, or the Ballymena rolling, if anyone gets the Liam Neeson reference. I watched The Marksman this week. Liam Neeson plays a rancher called Jim. He's a former Marine, and he lives a solitary life on the Arizona-Mexican border. But his peaceful existence soon comes crashing down when he tries to protect a boy on the run from the cartel.
Sounds interesting. Sounds like a classic Neeson movie.
It is. It's well, where do we start? Obviously we have Liam Neeson. Not too many notable people. I would say the only person I was sort of familiar with was Teresa Ruiz. I'm a bit of a big fan of hers. If you've seen Narcos Mexico season 1, she's a hot mamacita in this show, and yeah, she plays the mum of the boy. I'm not really familiar with anyone else in this. It's, if I'm honest, it felt a bit like a straight to DVD one, this one.
Yeah.
Maybe I don't want to say this, but I feel like Liam Neeson has got a bit, he's not stale. I don't know, maybe, when you think about him in Love Actually, and you think about him, you mentioned Qui-Gon Jinn, and just the numerous roles he's been in, the guy does have range. He sort of became this action star in Taken, and then did so many films like it, and at first it was just like, wow, I like this kick-ass Liam Neeson. Now it's a bit like,
he seems like all his movies lately seem much like Samuel L. Jackson and Bruce Willis. they will just generally do any movie, basically just earning an income.
His are entertaining though, I would say, nonetheless, and they're not. I've never seen a bad one.
No,
some are better than others, but it's not like sometimes, like
they're
you
never
said, with Bruce Willis, some of them you look at and you just think, why? But yes, so the Marksman, yeah, he helps this boy basically evade the cartel.
Give it to me!
It's apparently he's only got 2 films left in him. So your one might be the last, the second to last, I should say. So I joked about his one accent. Ironically, his Irish accent isn't as, or Northern Irish, I should say, isn't as strong as it was. There was a hint, as I mentioned earlier. I'm not going to say any more than that if you're familiar with it. Going back to Liam Neeson, sort of, as I said, range. I remember one of the earliest roles I ever saw him was he actually played an IRA terrorist in Miami Vice. So very, very young Liam Neeson. Cool. But again, a bit typecast and a bit cliche. He's a Northern Irishman. Yeah, IRA. But, you know, this was the 80s. So one thing that struck me about this film, because obviously he's helping this, I guess, I hate to say illegal, you know, the kid, the little boy and the mum are not US citizens, so I guess they are illegal immigrants, but they, I just felt like there's potentially could be a political agenda with this film, you know, particularly with the whole Trump and the wall thing. And it's funny, there's been a lot of films coming out at the moment that sort of have this feel about like Spiral, something I didn't pick up the other day, actually, but the Spiral, you know, the killer going after the police, you know, I'm segueing, but obviously with the whole Black Lives Matter movement at the moment, maybe, you know, someone taking revenge on the police. I don't know, again, is that political? But yeah, this kind of did feel quite political with the whole build the wall. It's there's not really a lot to say other than what the plot is. It's Liam Neeson. He's kick-ass. He's got guns. He's a marksman. He's a Marine. He's old, but he's still got skills, a particular set of skills. So
always got a particular set of skills.
One thing that did strike me, so there's a scene when the cartel cross the border, and it's not a spoiler because it's just, so I'm going to say this. When they're going across the border, obviously TSA are there and they check the passports and check the car. And the cartel hand over clearly, and they're not fake passports. They look like genuine passports of American citizens. But one of them is literally a woman and a man who obviously are clearly white, look nothing like these, you know, cartel guys. And the TSA guy just looks at it, looks back at them and just, you know, waves them on. And it just sort of begs the question, just how much influence does the cartel have in America, or the cartels? You know, if you look at Narcos, part of why we have sort of the cartel problems are, you know, the minus the Felix Gallardo effect, and you've got El Chapo and the rest of them. All these vying gangs and now all organizations that want to be number one. So that was quite an interesting thing. Obviously, we know about the bloodshed and the violence, and that the cartels are sort of famous for. You know, I've got some Mexican friends, and they often play down it, that it's dramatized by TV. You know, I'm not Mexican, so I can't comment, but what you see on the news and what you read on the news is horrendous. And obviously this movie just highlights just sort of how, you know, sadistic they can be. And, you know, I've spoken about this, like End of Watch and other films like that, where there's Mexican influences. They're scary, you know, it's scary. It's not like what we say Yakuza or any of these guys. It doesn't seem to be on a Cesario with Benicio del Toro and Emily Blunt. Again, really just dark, horrible, with a scary film. So, and should we make it 3 for 3? Oh, do I want to give this spoiler? I don't think. Look, I'm going to be honest. I don't know if many of you are going to see this.
Yeah, give
I'm
the
going to
spoiler.
say it
Give the
anyway.
spoiler.
I'm going to get it. The dog gets killed. You don't mess with a man's dog. This is a
Don't
theme.
Don't be bringing John Wick into
man's
this.
dog. Well, it's Liam Neeson. Come on. Do you know what? If you kill Liam Neeson, you know he's got a particular set of skills. So, yeah, I'm not going to give much away, but it's not a massive spoiler. Like, you kind of see it coming, to be honest. But yes, you know, he has to protect this boy, and you know he's an ex-Marine, and he takes it upon himself to protect this boy from the cartel. So, and that's essentially what the movie's about. It's entertaining. I would say it's mildly entertaining. I didn't clock watch, but at the same time, I was sat there thinking, I don't love this movie.
Yeah.
He's just done a lot better, and maybe the fact that he's got 2 left in him is a good thing. But I don't know. If anything, it's like I would kind of feel like maybe he should do what, and we always say this, what a lot of artists should do. Just take a break.
Yeah.
Take a break, Liam. We love you.
Owen Wilson did.
Your skills are great.
Took a bit of a break. He was everywhere at one point, and he's come back, and you're like, oh, look, what a great guy.
You know, some of the, you know, we look at Clint Eastwood. He's well into his age, and he's probably not going to do any more. But you know, Gran Torino, he hadn't done a few for a while. Great film, one of the best Clint Eastwood films there are. So it shows it doesn't matter if you know you've got the talent, you got the skills. Definitely worth it. But yeah, I would say watch it if there's nothing else. But just a lukewarm Liam.
We should run, he'll kill us.
Not if I get him first.
What about your Ice Road truckers?
So Ice Road, what can I say about Ice Road? Well, if you like Liam Neeson, if you like snow, and you like big rigs, then you'll probably like this movie. There were some big rigs in this movie, and there's a lot of snow. And a lot of Liam Neeson. No, there's no honking. There's no honking.
What about Breaker?
No, there's no breakers either.
Oh
no, I've just let you down. I'm sorry. I'm really sorry. But if you would like to pen a letter to the makers of the Ice Road, just explaining your disgust
at
the lack of horn and breaker, please do. So this does have one other notable name in it, being Lawrence Fishburne, which is quite nice.
Larry Fishburne.
Oh, Lawrence Fishburne. And also
big gap in his tooth.
And also Matt Salinger, who is the original Captain America from the 90s Captain America movie.
Okay, cool.
So he's in it briefly. But yeah, I mean, just to sum it up, so Liam Neeson and his brother, who is an Afghan war vet, and he's got some issues. His brother's got some major issues.
Ooh,
they are
PTSD.
basically they're like mechanics. They go from job to job. And there is a diamond mine up in Canada. There's an explosion trapping some miners, and they need to get some very large equipment up there. And the only way to get it there is through this hundreds of miles long ice road that isn't used between a certain part of the year because obviously the temperature's warm and it makes the ice thinner. And this explosion happens like a couple of months into that part, so it's already starting to melt. But they have no choice. They've got to get this equipment up there to save these miners. And so Liam Neeson is hired by Lawrence Fishburne with some other girl, I can't remember her name, but they each take a big rig each. So basically 3. The aim is to get 1 truck to this mine, but they take 3 in case anything happens to one of the rigs. But it turns.
I'd imagine it would take a lot of concentration, yeah.
Yes.
To do that.
There's a lot of. They explain the skill involved to driving this ice road because it is just ice, and you have to go. You can't go too fast, otherwise you'll cause like a ripple in the ice. You can't go too slow, otherwise you could start cracking the ice and falling through. So there is a lot of skill involved that they explain, which kind of goes out the window a little bit in some parts when certain things happen. I'm guessing, you're like, well, that's...
I was going to say, I guess he's going to have to stay frosty.
Always.
I had to drop it.
Let's not bring Michael Keaton into this. So yeah, there's a lot of action. There's a lot of the explosion. I will give it away because if you're watching this, you might watch the movie. The explosion may not be an accident. The insurance company and the company owners may be involved in some way because Liam Neeson has to. I'm just going to ignore all your puns. Liam Neeson has to get his action on. Can't just drive a truck.
Of course.
Yeah, it's all right. Like I said, it's. I didn't clock watch, but at the same time, I was thinking, is this nearly over? It's very adequate, and that's all I'll really say about it. It is what it is. You don't have to think about it. It is a very straightforward film, very straightforward plot. If you just like a standard action movie, why not give it a go? You're not. He's
good at keeping his cool.
Stop already. I will walk out of here. I will leave and leave you to do the show on your own.
You could say, "The Iceman cometh."
And that's it for this week. I'm going now. I'm going. I'm cutting it off. That's our picks. Liam Neeson double header. If you like Liam Neeson, give it a watch. If you don't like Liam Neeson, who cares? Give it a watch. Whatever.
Then,
So, if you like the
video, if I were to rate these films out of 10, they would be Sub-Zero.
If you like this video, don't forget to like and subscribe. And click on the little bell icon. And as always, don't forget, never eat yellow snow.